Hi, welcome to Socialist Party Scotland's video in celebration of International Women's Day, which is coming up on Monday, the 8th of March. And I'm pleased to be joined today by Sinead Daly, who's a leading member of Socialist Party Scotland, and also Lynda McEwan, who's also a leading member of our party here in Scotland. Both Sinead and Lynda are also candidates for the Scottish Trade Union Socialist Coalition, who are contesting the May elections for the Scottish Parliament. But this video really is about celebrating the coming Monday, on the 8th of March, which is International Women's Day. So maybe Sinead, could you tell us a little bit about International Women's Day, where it came from, what it is, and why it's so significant for socialists and for working class women?
Well, the roots of International Women's Day really are they're rooted in the history of struggle and the history of socialism. You wouldn't think that today when you look at it's all about pampering, and you've got major corporations jumping on the bandwagon like Amazon and others, trying to claim that they're actually advocating women's rights, when we know that that's absolutely not the case. But it's actually, it goes back to New York City on March the 8th in 1857, when a group of garment workers went on strike, demanding an end to the horrific work conditions that they had to endure, poverty pay and child labour. At that time, they were viciously attacked by the police, but despite that, continued in their struggle. And it was actually from that strike that the first women's trade unions were established. And if you roll forward then to 1908, on March the 8th again, inspired by that struggle, women garment workers in New York City went on strike, demanding better pay, shorter working hours, and the right to vote. So they were the first kind of couple of struggles that where they carried on those traditions. But it was formally adopted in 1910 at an international socialist conference in Copenhagen, which was attended by over 100 women from 17 countries around the world, which unanimously passed a motion establishing International Women's Day. And of course, it would be remiss not to mention the role that women played in the magnificent Russian Revolution, which in the Julian calendar at that time was February, but actually it was ignited on March the 8th, the demonstrations of tens of thousands of textile workers, female textile workers in Petrograd, demanding bread, peace, and down with the Tsar, which of course ignited the beginnings of the Russian Revolution. So they are the traditions of International Women's Day, and it's in those in that vein, if you like, that we continue to pay homage to those struggles of women workers, but also to place firmly front and center the reality that the overwhelming majority of women are still facing double oppression as women, but also oppression under the capitalist system. And it is still, we still have the need to end things like low pay, and safe working conditions. If you look at the COVID pandemic right now and the conditions that many women workers have been faced, particularly in the care sector, where inadequate access to PPE and so on. So those issues are still crucially important, and that's why it's really that we take the time out to look at the legacy of International Women's Day, but also use it as an opportunity to organise and come together to sort of put forward demands that we need today to eradicate the inequality that we still face.
Thanks very much, Sinead. So, Lynda, obviously Sinead's referred to the origins and the traditions of International Women's Day or International Working Women's Day. Well, what about today, though, Lynda? What is the position facing working class women today? How is that featuring now in the pandemic and so on?
Thanks, Philip. Yeah, well, we as socialists, as Sinead outlined, know historically that, working class women are doubly oppressed in society through both their class and gender. But I think, today in 2021, the global pandemic has really brought that into sharp focus. has exposed just how much society still relies on working class women in both frontline work and at home. Women workers make up the vast majority of key workers, NHS staff, retail, care and in education. Women have consistently been required to put their lives on the line in mostly low-paid part-time employment with less access to the furlough scheme. I think over 70% of working mothers tasked with homeschooling have been refused furlough. Of those women, 90% say their mental health has suffered due to worry about making ends meet and future employment. We've also witnessed a huge increase in domestic violence towards women during these repeated lockdowns. Organisations such as Scottish Women's Aid have received a 4.2 million cash injection from the SNP Scottish Government, but after more than a decade of austerity and cuts to women's services, this money won't be enough to plug the funding gap that has existed long before COVID. In Western Bartonshire, where I live and where I'll be standing as a list candidate for Tusk in the Scottish elections, women have a life expectancy 5 years less than that of neighbouring council Eastern Bartonshire. This is solely down to wealth inequality. In North Ayrshire, also in West Scotland, the life expectancy for women is 56-year-old, and that's the lowest in Western Europe.
Thanks very much, Lynda. Now, Sinead, I mean, Lynda's referred to the position of working class women today, and also the elections are coming up, but I know you and Lynda are both standing as candidates for Scottish Tusk, and one of the main platforms that you're standing on is the need for a socialist recovery from the COVID crisis. So particularly thinking about what that means for women, what kind of policies are you putting forward?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Lynda outlined, you know, the impact very well. And in terms of what demands that we would be putting forward, things like a demand of the 3 billion stolen from public services over the last decade. Now, the reason that's important to women is because it's multifaceted, but on the one hand, we make up the majority of the workforce within the public sector. So we have suffered in that sense over a decade of low pay. We've had women workers in Glasgow, an SNP run council, by the way, where I'll be standing as part of the list, having to take strike action for equal pay. And force a very reluctant SNP-led administration to pay up because of that decades-old equal pay struggle. And of course, because of the action that they took and under the leadership of an active Unison branch there, they managed to win their claims for equal pay. So that's one example of a demand. The other ones would be things like an immediate 15% pay rise for NHS and care workers. We know and we hear, you know, we've got politicians clapping on the doorsteps, you know, for NHS workers and for key workers. You know, it's crocodile tears, if you like, and it feels a bit meaningless if it's not backed up with immediate pay rises, because the reality is that nurses, care workers are very badly paid for the work that they actually do, because it is undervalued by if you like, the capitalist system. An immediate minimum wage of £12 an hour and build a trade union movement led campaign for a £15 an hour minimum wage for all. Now that would help to bridge the gap, the equal pay gap, or the sort of the gap between male-female earnings immediately if that was introduced. So there's some of, if you like, the immediate actions that we would be looking for. Nationalisation of the care sector as well, a crucial demand, particularly given the role that particularly given the privatisation that has taken place, that has directly resulted in poor provision of care, you know, poor provision of PPE, and presiding over what was, you know, mass deaths in the care sector. So that is a really, really important demand that we would place. And of course, the building of a new Workers' Party in Scotland, I think, is a key issue for us. You know, I was listening to Nicola Sturgeon recently talking about, was asked a question about the rolling back of women's equality because of the COVID pandemic. She has no answers. The reality is the SNP have presided over Lynda mentioned it, over a decade of austerity policies, which have made women's lives worse, which have increased the inequality that we actually face. And we need a different political alternative that will put the needs of the working class and working class women front and center. But moreover, if you go back to the history of International Women's Day, what were the lessons that those socialists in 1910 had learned? Was that, you know, reforms, we can win reforms, but they can be quickly lost on the basis of capitalism. If we want to permanently improve our lives, then we need a different society. We need a socialist society based on the redistribution of wealth and the massive resources that we have at our disposal, if the political will was there to actually, you know, to do what needs to be done.
Thanks, Sinead. And Lynda, just on that theme there about how important socialism is to assist in the ending of oppression for women, any comments you have on that? And maybe just to give us as well any plans, any events or meetings that are coming up that people can maybe tune into to mark International Women's Day.
Yeah, well, I think to start with, you know, we need investment in jobs, and as Sinead mentioned, a minimum wage rise, £12 an hour. You know, the 1% pay rise that the SNP government were offering to key NHS and care workers was really just an absolute insult. I think Tusk candidates, you know, we'll fight austerity, all austerity. We'll take only the average worker's wage, reject funding from big business, which I think is really important. We call for privatised care homes to be taken into democratic workers' control with an end to FI and PP contracts in the NHS. Our health service must be fully funded. In my area, I've campaigned to keep out the out-of-hours service open at the Vale of Leaven Hospital. I think we need more funding into women's services, socialised childcare, and the furlough scheme to be extended to all working women who need it and raised to cover 100% of wages. I think the child payment should be raised to £50 a week and universal credit scrapped and replaced by raising benefits in line with wages. You know, women are getting organised just now and joining trade unions, including the EIS, Unison, GMB and USDA. We can't rely on capitalist politicians to lead us out of this crisis, regardless of what the roadmaps they come up with or whether they're women. The SNP leader, Nicola Sturgeon, and Labour's Jackie Bailey in my area are not leading a struggle for women or working class people. We need a new workers' party in Scotland and internationally with socialist policies to end inequality and oppression. I think voting Tusk in the Scottish elections would be a step towards building a fight back, including in the trade unions, the communities and youth. I think we really just need that fighting socialist alternative in Holyrood. And I think if you've liked anything that you've heard today, Socialist Party Scotland are hosting a meeting on Monday night at 7 p.m. with speakers Marion Lloyd from the Socialist Party in Sheffield and Sinead, who you've heard today, who's a Tusk candidate and a Socialist Party member. If you want, you can message our Facebook page, which is Socialist Party Scotland, for the Zoom link, and please come along and join us. Also the CWI, which is the Committee for the Workers International, which we are linked to, are hosting an online event on Sunday the 7th on fighting to end women's oppression. You can see the poster behind Philip there, with an international platform of women. If you contact the CWI Facebook for more information, please come along and join us at both those events.
Thanks very much, Lynda, and thanks to Sinead as well. And at the end of this video, you'll see more information about both of those events, both on Sunday the 7th of March and on Monday the 8th of March. So come along. We'll also be posting a lot of articles about International Women's Day on our website at socialistpartyscotland.org.uk. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you soon.